I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and this is my second video of the day because I saw that Deobra Redden was sentenced. I have done, I want to say, 4 other videos on this case. So my first video was from covering the actual day that Deobra Redden in Las Vegas court when the judge was sentencing him because she was about to sentence him to some jail time, and he leaped over the bench. He leaped over everything. It looked superhuman. It was really, really, it caught, because I don't know that it would have caught everyone's attention if it just hadn't been so dramatic. And his lawyer is going to make some statements. He makes a statement to the court, and then we're also going to listen to the impact statement and to the judge's sentence. This is one of those cases where I understand that, yes, somebody does have a mental health condition, and then there might also be a need to ensure that they're receiving the treatment that they need, and they might also get some jail time because the incident that he did that day was very significant. He initially pled not guilty by reason of insanity, and the judge testified in this case, and her testimony was very powerful. You could tell the anxiety and stress that it brought up for her to have to relive that moment. The attorney is going to say that in court that day was the first time he saw that footage. And I went back and watched the coverage, and I did not see a reaction because the attorney is gonna, and it's fine. Like, defense attorney is gonna, but what he said and what I saw, and now something could have happened that was not caught on camera, but I did not see a reaction of shock or surprise from Deobra Redden in that moment. I personally did not see that. That's what we're here talking about. Let me go on ahead and start with, all right. So the state is going to argue that Deobra Redden, that his sentence should run, um, that he should have to, that it should be a separate sentencing. Like, this should be concurrent. My bread. That should be separate. That it shouldn't all run together. That these things should run separately. The defense is going to say that no, he has these challenges. This is all one big mental health concern, and I think they're going to fight for the lower end of like 4 years, I think, to run concurrent, like to run alongside the prison term he's currently serving for that other incident. All right. Yes, Lisa, this is the judge. This is the guy that did that to the judge in the courtroom. He's going to make a statement, and I'm going to pause at times. The full video without my pausing is down in the description. We do have captions for this. He's going to give some triggering words. To me, some of his statement came off, I think he was trying to project remorse. Some of it came across angry to me, but we'll watch it and talk about it.
First, he wants to address the court. Judge, Miss Judge Susan H. Johnson.
Can y'all let me know if y'all can hear that? Yeah, y'all know. So remember, I'm the psychologist, not the lawyer. I think that's what consecutively means. I think one after another, not concurrent, but consecutive. I don't know. Y'all know I'm not the lawyer. And I get words confused. So let me know if the volume sounds okay or if I need to turn my mic down.
I don't understand why the state is like really going after my character. I mean, I've always had problems since I was a little kid of like psychosis and being in big crowds and always feel like my life is in danger. I didn't know, being a young person, even in middle school, elementary school, knowing that like I fear for my safety. I'm just being me, going to school, growing up, trying to do the right things. I never get tired of trying to do the right things. The state just said that I have no remorse. Like, I feel like
I want to make sure that I have it at regular. So I'm gonna play him at regular speed. Okay. So this is So the first part was sped up. That was 1.25. This is regular speed.
She doesn't know me. I understand she's doing her job. I'm not mad at her for that, but I know that I'm not a bad person. And I'm thinking, like, even she knows that, but I'm sitting here like she's doing her job, you know? And I believe that you all know that I'm not a bad person. I'm not an evil person. When I came to court on January 3rd, 2024, I was listening to music. I was in a good mood. I had a stable place to stay. I was trying to get a job. I did not catch any new charges. I'm not a bad person. I don't understand why the state.
Oh, but the no new charges was so like, okay, while he was awaiting sentencing, he did not have new charges, but he did attack the judge during, and then he's been incarcerated since then. He was not released on like he's been incarcerated since that point. He was not on his medication. So he has been diagnosed with what I believe is paranoid schizophrenia. At minimum, it might be schizoaffective bipolar type. I'm not sure, but they're going to mention paranoia. And so I'm thinking at minimum, it's paranoid schizophrenia. He was also born addicted to substances. None of this excuses anything that he's done. It just helps me understand because there are people born in very similar situations, very similar circumstances, and they make different choices. They have different body chemistry. I work with individuals that have diagnoses of schizophrenia, that take their medication, that when we can see them heading towards a psychotic state, we get them the supports and resources that they need. And because in this statement, he's going to say that he has negative feelings about people with because I think he views mental health as bad. And that's where I hope that somebody can sit down with him and describe his diagnoses, help him understand kind of what's going on, and that it's not meant to say he's a bad person or to judge him in any way, or it doesn't mean that he's going to um because I think he almost, we'll get to it in a moment, but he's saying that being labeled with mental health, it almost makes him less safe, but he has a history of attacking other people, and
State is trying to prove me as a bad person. I understand they have a job to do, but this is just, it's not right to me, you know? I'm not an evil guy, and I just keep going after me. I see spirits, I hear voices. I've been going through this for over a decade now.
so I do believe that that is true. So I do believe that he likely hears and sees things. When he's medicated, his behavior um is more manageable, and his defense attorney is going to bring that up. He did attempt to get his prescribed medication. So he was in jail for a period of time and he was released with medication, or like he was in this community program that they have available in Nevada, and but the clinic did not have appointments and he was not able to be on his medication. Um so I skipped over the states and I'm going to get to the judge, and I he seems to have a personality type that's it comes off aggressive to me personally. I don't to me personally. And he is fully shackled. They are not taking any chances with him. He's going to say he snapped and he saw red and he doesn't remember what he did, but yeah, I'm going to press play.
Really since 2012, you know, and I just feel attacked or just not safe since I was a little kid. And me growing up, I didn't know that I had these problems. In 2022, I came to prison for the first time. I accepted responsibility for my actions when I did what I did. I committed a crime in 2020 of December. It was 4 years ago. I paid my debt to society. I got out, thinking I'm gonna get work. I was really sick and ill. I was very malnourished. I don't complain about things. I don't point the blame when people have done me wrong. I still treat everybody right. And the state just stated that I have no remorse and they feel like I'm a bad person. I just don't understand why are they coming after me like this. But I understand they have a job to do. When I came to court, I know for a fact, Judge Johnson, I met Judge Holtis in 2023 of October, and you
So that was the judge that he attacked.
know what she told me when she revoked my probation? She said, Mr. Redden, I hope you get the help you truly need. I said, thank you so much, and I meant it. I know for a fact I'm not an evil person. I think all of you guys know that, but I'm not gonna say
And so that's where a person can have a mental health condition and still be held responsible for a crime. Um, he not only attacked the judge, also the judge's aide. I forget what it's, but like there was somebody, because if he hadn't been there to help support, and he jumped into action, all that, like everybody did their best. Um, like she might not be here. And like I said, her testimony was very powerful. I have all previous coverage linked down below.
I'm not going to use stuff like me being on camera for my actions, But I know for a fact that I cared about Judge Mary Kay Holtis's well-being. When I left my house that day at 8 Rose Circle, I left my keys to my apartment, to my family, and I got in the car and I came to court doing the right thing. I gave up everything, like in case I don't get probation. I was like, well, at least I know I tried. And I'm sitting here.
And I think he's meaning to come off passionate. Like I think he's meaning, but it comes across angry to me. It doesn't. It comes across angry to me personally. And I'm sensitive to that because sometimes Black men are overly perceived as angry, Black women as well. And to me, like this is just his tone. Some of the like it's coming across, and I don't think that's how he means it. I don't think that's how he means it. I think this is him being passionate, but it comes across angry to me.
You're talking to Judge Holtis, Miss Johnson, and I swear I started hearing voices in 2012, really in 2014. I'm gonna make a long story short, but I just want to get the facts out because I don't want the state. I understand they have a job to do, but I'm not a bad person. I'm not an evil guy, and but I came to court and I'm in a good mood. I'm listening to music on my phone. I'm like, oh, whatever. I remember I about to hug my mom, my foster mother who raised me since I was 11 years old. I hugged her like, just in case if I don't depress. You could see it in the videotape, so I was in a good mood. I don't want to be known as.
And he did it. It was a snap out of nowhere, but it didn't necessarily mean, because some people have talked about hearing the clink of the handcuffs. The judge made a statement, and I don't think the judge's statement was inappropriate. I don't think the family liked the statement that the judge made. He's saying he was prepared to go to jail, but um, yeah.
As a person who has mental illness because those people get attacked. I've heard so many people who have mental illness commit suicide. I don't want to be known as a person who has mental illness because they get attacked. So I try my best when I'm going through all these problems since I was a little.
And some of that might have hurt because it doesn't sound like he has a good understanding of his diagnoses. Like, I would be concerned because he doesn't want to be seen as somebody with a mental illness, but he is someone with a serious mental illness. And he needs to make sure that he's taking his medication, he's going to therapy. Those things are going to be really important. He did plead guilty, but mentally ill. And so hopefully he will have access to medication. And his lawyer is going to say that he is on his prescribed medication today.
Or like I told you, I didn't know I had these problems until 2 years ago. I was sitting down in prison and I had this dictionary, and I was like, oh, that's what that word means. That's what that really means. I didn't know that. Oh, stuff has a deeper meaning. Like, wow, I never think like this. I was in prison with nothing to do. I did a 12 to 30 months. I did 15 months total, and I cleaned up my sentence. I paid my debt to society, and I got out as a good, productive member of society. I didn't know and didn't want to believe that I had mental problems. I started seeing spirits November 2022. I'm not making excuses for my actions, but I'm saying I'm not a bad person. And I know that I did not intend to kill Mary Kay Holthus. I know I cared about her well-being, Judge Johnson. And I came to court that day, and I was talking to her, and I told her I never stopped trying to do the right things. I wasn't pointing like, oh, this person did this to me. I deserve a chance at probation. Like, is this not fair? All I see was red, and all I heard her say, oh, this. Like she said, and I finally watched the whole video. I was standing here in the courtroom with all of you guys.
And some of his talking, and I think we sometimes consider this speech a little tangential. Like it's not completely loose, where like a person in active psychosis, but like um sometimes even on medication, individuals with schizophrenia, sometimes their speech can still be kind of disorganized. Yes, I agree. His speech is disorganized. And I do believe that he does have a diagnosis of, and I forget if it's schizophrenia or schizoaffective bipolar type. I'm not sure exactly which one. The judge is going. Oh, the defense attorney is going to talk about the former psych evals.
All of you guys, I finally saw the entire video, Judge Johnson. I'm like, I can't believe this. And I wasn't even mad at Michael Lasso. I was like, I commend him on doing for what he did. And everybody.
So Michael is the clerk, the judge's clerk that saved her life, and um so he's saying that he was grateful that, but now in this moment, but like in the other moment, it's my understanding he was saying like I'm gonna kill you, bitch, and I don't know, like it's my understanding in that moment it was not good.
In the prison trying to make me hate him and hate the judge, and I'm still trying to do the right thing. They putting stuff in my ear, and I can't get away from it. And but basically, what I'm trying to say is, everything I've been doing. This is just like this is not right to me. But like I said, I know the state has a job to do, and basically, what I'm saying is, I know I cared about Mary Kay Holthus, to make a long story short. But when I was sitting here talking to her, I swear this has been happening to me since 2012. I saw nothing but red, and I heard her say, I think it's time for a taste of something else. I saw nothing but red, and I don't remember doing anything except for jumping on top of her and doing this to her robe. I was like, why are you doing this to me? That's what I wanted to ask her, if I think I know.
I don't think that's what he actually said. I think the testimony was that his hands were like trying to get to her neck, and she fell backwards. Like her injuries were significant, and the psychological toll that takes on a person. Because when he returned to her court, there were so because she sentenced him. So the judge, okay, I've made myself big for this part. So the judge that he attacked, she entered her note for that day into evidence because she had already prepared what he was going to be sentenced to, and she did not change what that sentence was based on what, because he had a whole separate court, like he had already been arrested for attacking her, and that was already going to happen. Um like her testimony was just his childhood. So he was born substance addicted. I do believe that there was foster care. I don't think he was ever adopted. So he, at 11 years old, came to live with his foster parent. I do not believe that she legally adopted him. But it sounds like she's still very connected. She showed up for his court hearing. She considers herself to be a mom figure to him. I believe that there's likely some major generational stuff, trauma, and I think he experienced significant childhood trauma. Once again, does not excuse, it just kind of helps me understand. I do not believe his early years were stable at all. I think once he was 11, and I think because he had a whole bunch of behavior problems, because I don't think he was diagnosed with psychosis until until later. This is a great question. Dr. Barry, have you ever been afraid of a client? Yes. But I try to not let the client see it. And so with those clients, I sit closest to the door. I schedule them on days that the other therapist is there. I schedule with some individuals, I've had their parent present because if they were aggressive, they were more likely to be aggressive towards a parent than towards me. I have had clients. I used to do intensive home-based therapy, and the worst was when I worked in residential treatment with kids age 4 through, I think, 8. I was in K house, which was the kinder. It was the youngest kids. I thought it would be sweet, but like they were the ones with the biggest behavior problems because for a child that's 5 years old to be placed in a facility, their behaviors are really, really extreme. And, so there was a lot of, I experienced a lot. I wasn't afraid because it wasn't a fear thing, and we had safety protocols, but, I have been physically attacked. I have had clients pull out, like a knife or something. Um, I carry safety options that I would discuss with like so I don't so I have like pepper spray. I have and I would have to because like I'm not supposed but like if it's me not being here anymore or and I know pepper spray can spray back on you. So I try to have safety around those things. Sometimes I will leave certain doors open if I am concerned about safety. Normally, a lot of people I work with, they're more likely to be aggressive towards like their parent than me. I also don't force people to stay in my office. So if a client is like, F you, and they get up and leave, like, and if it's a child, the parent, I'm gonna make sure everybody's notified, but like I'm I'm not gonna force them to stay. I actually tell them, hey, if you don't want to be here, just tell them. Like we'll talk about it. And you like I've had clients refuse to get out the car to come up to session. And what I do is I come down, there have been times when they agreed to talk to me while they were in the car, and I stood out. I don't get in the car with them. And there have been other times where somebody just flat out refused, and the session was canceled. And so now I would not work with somebody that I could not help. So I don't work with people that harm children. Like that's just. I don't work with I don't work with offenders. That's something that I'm not comfortable with. And like I said, I have certain safety protocols in place for my office if I am concerned about a client. You can normally see things escalate. For his situation, there was no escalation like that. Like I don't know that he was like because sometimes you can see somebody starting to fume and you can see them starting to bubble up. Because when I see that in session, I I watch it and if we're talking about a difficult topic, we back off of that topic if they have an explosive temper. But yeah. Uh yeah. And so when I did intensive in-home, one thing I would do is I would always back into the house so I could escape easily. um, uh, Once had a family that we had to put in writing that like pews would be secured while the clinician was in the home. Like I've worked with a lot of situations. The people that I work with want to work with me, so I'm not working with people that are court ordered that have to be there. I'm always working with people that want to work with me. I keep a waiting list. Like right now, I'm not accepting new clients, and so I'll never forget a court ordered evaluation where the person thought they could just show up and that would count as their. I'm like, oh no, like there's participation, like there's like a level. A- and with me setting a boundary, they were able to reach that required level of yes, of everything. I also, because sometimes parents are afraid to involve a legal system with their juvenile child. And for some kids that are showing signs of conduct disorder, that are showing some antisocial behavior, sometimes getting the legal system involved gets services in place. Because it's all in Virginia, it's who's going to pay for it. Like Virginia's a big, like, if they don't have Medicaid, or even if they do have Medicaid, we have to try all these other things in order for services to get approved. But all right, so he's almost done with his statement.
Myself, but I'm not really sure. I that's the only thing I could come up with. I had 11 months, but I can't really come up with anything. But I know that I cared about Judge Mary Kay Holthus's well-being. You know, that's all. Thank you.
Me sit during my,
Sure.
and Your Honor, again, I hear the state in that they're saying it's a lack of impulse control. I agree with that. However, he's adjudicated guilty, not guilty, but by mental illness. And so, bottom line, his ability to control his impulses are vastly different from my ability, from, Mr. Giordani's ability. He does not have the same ability to control his anger, what he's going to do, because as you saw in Dr. Paglini's report, from day one, from birth, he has had this mental illness based upon his mother's drug use at the time of her pregnancy, the stuff that he saw during him growing up, going through different households, going to a stable home in his foster parent, but he was still unable.
And at 11, that is hard. You want stability younger. If you There's so much brain development that happens in those first 2 to 5 years. Those first years are really important. Not that it's impossible for there to be improvements or anything. Y'all know it's my. I have to. We'll see how it feels at 1.25. That's how I watched it earlier. I did want Deobra's statement to be at regular speed, because sometimes when things are sped up, the emotion comes off different. But I'm going to speed up the attorney to 1.25. Okay.
To comply with just normal behaviors. And all of that should be taken into account. But I think this case starts again in April of 2013. The 18th is when he was arrested after going after his brother-in-law with the baseball bat. Basically, again, this was during a period of time where he wasn't doing his medication. He was off his meds. He's going through his paranoid disorders, whatever those that were outlined by Dr. Paglini. And this whole incident arises from that. He gets into court and he's deemed incompetent. He can't comply with the normal court proceedings that were occurring. He refused transport 3-4 different times. Then he gets into court and he's unable to control himself. Why? Because he wasn't on medication. He goes to competency court. He is eventually given medication to subdue the voices, to subdue his impulses, and he's able to comply. That person that is able to comply is the person that we see today, Your Honor. We made sure that he was on his medication. We asked the prison. I asked him personally. That wasn't done prior to his sentencing in the original case that occurred on.
And the reason why he wasn't on medication was because he was out of jail, and they were trying to get an appointment with the clinic. And I don't know if the family will, and I don't know if the clinic would be held responsible, because if somebody is ever in a situation like that, going to the emergency room, or like talking with the primary care doctor, making sure the court is aware, because when he's not on his medication, he really is an even bigger risk to himself and others. If he was on his medication, I don't know him. I don't know if he still would have done what he did. I do think he was. A lot of people, psychosis can present different, and the family felt that he was off. I don't think his lawyer noticed, and I think that's why this lawyer stepped up pro bono, because I think this is a very good attorney, and he put on a very strong defense for him.
Out of the 2023 incident. And that's another point I wanted to bring up. This case is very different than most of the cases where we have a mentally incompetent person in the court proceedings. Usually, their incompetency keeps them in custody.
Yeah.
This is the first that I'm aware of that they're actually released out of custody. He was released, and then he had the inability.
But I think he was on like a mental health diversion program where he was supposed to follow up with mental health, but that's where I don't know if the family looks at the clinic, because it's my understanding, and I don't have the evidence, but like it's my understanding that he was trying to get a refill. He was trying to get his medication, and he wasn't able to. And sometimes with some individuals, they end up placed on medications that are shots, where it is like Haldol or something. It is one of those antipsychotics that have a longer period of time. Sometimes people are put on the daily medication. They each person is on different, they their prescriber decides what's best for them. But I have worked with clients where if we were concerned about compliance, clients where we were concerned about compliance, that we would make sure that something that required fewer administrations if possible, we tried to get them on something that had more of an extended release option to help stabilize their psychosis and mood.
Ability to get back on the medication that was being given to him free of charge at Clark County Detention Center. He tries to make appointments, as you saw in Ms. Springer's affidavit, to get this medication. For 2 months after his release, which again is an occurrence that I haven't seen before, he's unable to get that medication. Of course, he's going to slip back into the same impulsive behaviors that he had before. Of course, he's going to slip back and not being able to suppress the thoughts and delusions that he was having. He went back right to what we saw in August 2023. And so again, that should all be taken into consideration. The state is asking for consecutive time. In part and parcel, his mental illness continued from the 2023 incident all the way until today. He was never released after sentencing in January 2024. We're asking, and I'll get to how much time, but we're asking that it all be run concurrent with his sentence that was received from Judge Holtis, the 1948, to whatever Your Honor believes is appropriate today. And the reason why we're asking for this to be concurrent is simply because he didn't have the chance to get out. He didn't have the chance to rehabilitate himself. He didn't have the chance to demonstrate to the court that, okay, he learned his lesson. He was still under the state's control during the time of his sentencing. The same state that we forgot to inquire prior to his sentencing, whether he was under his medication, the same state that didn't provide him with his medication, the Mojave Health Clinic, being it during the holiday.
So the defense attorney is just doing his job. The judge is not going to be moved by this. Okay. He's going to get a very hefty sentence. Okay. Like, so you don't have to, the judge is not going to be moved.
holidays was unable to give him an appointment. I believe that this case has shed light on people's mental illness and what we have to do to, number one, bring them into court and understand what they're going through. And I don't think the answer is just throw away the key, give them a whole bunch of years. That benefits no one. We understand that a message has to be given. Since he's been on his medication, as you see him today, Your Honor, he's being courteous, he's being compliant.
So no, this is a different judge. So that judge would have to recuse. So that judge was a witness in this case. So she could not sentence or preside over his trial. And I think they had to make sure that they could find a judge that was like the most, because I think it's at the same courthouse. I want to say it's the exact same courthouse. But yeah, this is a different judge. Let me share. The other judge, she has blonde, like she has curly hair. She has like really awesome curls. I normally have curls. I decided I trimmed my hair and I straighten it when I trim it in the fall, and so yeah, it's a whole thing.
And he's deeply remorseful about the events and what happened that day. What I haven't shared with anyone other than my staff, and me and Mr. Redden talked about it. The first time that he saw the entire video was right here in court during the presentation of evidence. I was sitting right next to him. His reaction was very visceral. It was almost like he wanted to throw up. He called himself a monster. He did, Your Honor. That's me. I'm a monster. I can't believe that I did that.
And I tried to find video, and if anybody finds the video, I was not able to find any, because Court TV, they go back and forth between, or whoever the pool camera is. I was not able to find video evidence of that.
I did not mean to hurt that woman like that. I can't believe that I did that. That's what he said sitting in the same exact chair during trial. I believe he just, like he said, he doesn't have any specific recollection of coming over the bench, but when he saw it, he was deeply remorseful. He was just shocked about how he could act that way. And I think, Your Honor, all that should be taken into consideration. He understands a difficult position that you're in. We talked about this at length. I told him, there's just no way you're going to be granted probation in this matter. That was spelled out to him. Also, what was spelled out, there has to be a message that, you can't come flying over the bench because you didn't get the sentence that you wanted, or you're upset with the sentence. It has to be protection to your honor, it has to be protection to the prosecutors, it has to be protection to everyone in the courtroom. And so that message has to be sent so we don't have the next Joe Schmo that gets upset and takes it out on court staff or anybody surrounding them. He understands that. And with that understanding, he knows that he has to do some time. What we're asking for, Your Honor, is a 4 to 11-year sentence. How we got to that.
And so I'm going to skip. The rest of that argument is down in the description. I do want to play the victim impact statement. And that's going to be read by, I think, one of the DAs. But it's not by the judge. The judge did not come back. She seemed, so she faced him for the sentencing when she sentenced him for the reason why they were there. And then she was there, uh, whoopsie. She was also there to sentence him. The so then I'm sorry. So she said she completed the sentencing for that 2023 case, and then she came back and she testified in this case. And it was after her testimony. I'm almost positive it was either after her testimony or after because both her and her law clerk testified. And then there was a court break. And after that break, he decided to change his plea from not guilty by reason of insanity. His team probably saw they were losing the jury. Like they were probably looking at the jury and they were probably realized he's because at that point, in Nevada, the jury might have had the option of guilty, not guilty by reason of insanity, or guilty but mentally ill. Um, Similar to the it was Chloe Driver. Yes, similar to the Chloe Driver case. But he decided to change his plea to guilty but mentally ill. And in Nevada, that gives him the option. The court and I don't know, they will decide if he because it gives him the option to get some mental health treatment as well, alongside a jail sentence.
Has been substantial both mentally and physically. The impact on my professional family has also been significant both mentally and physically, especially in the case of my Marshal Shane, who suffered horrific injuries trying to protect me. For him, I am incredibly thankful and so very sorry. But for 6 men, grown men, half of whom were unarmed, I would not be here. To them, I owe my life and will forever be grateful. For years, the system has tried unsuccessfully to help the defendant conform his behavior and limit the danger.
Because it wasn't just, I think he has a long criminal, the defense attorney just went back to 2023. I think he has multiple charges going back for a while. Because I think he had been in and out of mental health court for a while.
He presents. Instead, his behavior has escalated to this, trying to kill me as I sat, just doing my job, in a courtroom surrounded by guards and court personnel. He made a conscious decision to kill me and made every effort to succeed. If he had his way, he'd be facing a sentence of life without the possibility of parole for murder. It is likely no surprise that for me, as well as his future victims who may not be as lucky, I wish for the maximum sentence allowed.
Thank you. Were there any other speakers?
No, we'll submit, Judge.
Mr. Redden, I am not going to run any sentence that I impose today concurrent with that issued by Judge Holtis. In my view, you committed separate crimes, and that results in separate sentences.
So they had asked that this sentence run alongside his other sentence from the 2020. This is a separate incident. Like him, that family member with a bat incident, that is different than what he did to the judge. And I think that was appropriate.
So it's not going to run concurrent to what she has previously issued as far as the sentence. All right. With respect to this sentence, first of all, there will be a $25 administrative assessment fee, a $3 DNA administrative fee. And Mr. Arnold, were you appointed or were you retained?
No, I actually did this case pro bono, Your Honor.
Okay. There will not be any DNA testing fee because frankly, given your history, it's already been taken. Your actions on that day, it was not just retaliation or an attack on Judge Holtis, it was also an attack on the judiciary. And I'm mindful of that. And while there's no question that you've got some mental illness issues, which is why you pled guilty but mentally ill, but there was no doubt by these doctors that you knew the difference between right and wrong, so you did what you did. So.
And that is a standard. So he understood, even in the psychotic state he was in, he understood that what he was doing was wrong.
This is what I'm going to do with respect to the sentence. Okay, with respect to count 1, sir, I'm going to do this. The minimum term that you would serve would be 8 years, and the maximum term will be 20 years. Plus, there will be a consecutive potential maximum term of 8 years to 20 years. So with respect to count 1, the minimum term that you will be serving combined would be 16 years, and the maximum will be 40 years. With respect to count 2, the minimum term that you will serve will be 4 years, and the maximum term will be 10 years. With respect to the consecutive enhancement, the age enhancement, the minimum that you will serve will be 4 years, and the maximum will be 10 years. So with respect to count 2, the minimum term combined will be 8 years, and the maximum will be 20 years. The term that I impose with respect to count 2 will run concurrent to count 1. With respect to count 3, Minimum
There might have been somebody that left the courtroom. His family is probably very disappointed with this sentence. I think it was just um, he has a long history of aggressive and very violent behavior, and um, yeah, like he did that in a court with then everybody standing right there, and so um, I definitely I got it. I got it. This was hard.
term that you will serve will be 2 years. The maximum term will be 5 years. That term will run consecutive to count one. With respect to count four, um, the minimum term that you will serve will be 4 years and the maximum term will be 10 years. That also will run consecutive to counts 3 and counts 1. With respect to counts, oh, wait a minute, yeah, okay. With respects to counts 6 and 7, sir, the minimum term in both of those counts will be 4 years. The maximum term will be 10 years. However, those will run concurrent to each other, right? So I'm not following what your attorney has suggested. I am following what the state has suggested. Did I catch them all?
I believe you skipped 5.
With 5? Sorry about that.
And so it's my understanding when I looked up because remember I'm not a lawyer. It's my understanding it was a total of 26 years as the minimum, I believe, and that's on top of the sentence that he's currently serving. I hear sirens, but I hope everybody's okay. And so uh Lisa asked about the attorney, and his name is Carl Arnold. He is a top attorney in Nevada. He was named one of the top 10 criminal defense attorneys in Las Vegas, and he is a very strong, dedicated public servant. I think hearing his story, I wonder if, as a defense attorney, knowing, I don't think there was ever a man, in particular, a black man, that stood up for Deobra and just putting his hand on his back. I think that was grounding for him and just like, I'm here. And it wasn't like inappropriate. Like it wasn't too, like it wasn't, like it wasn't inappropriate. I think it was just like a, hey, I'm here. And because in his life, I think he's had his sisters. I don't know enough about Diobra's story to know exactly what his experience with black men might have been like, but to have this, to have a somebody that looks like him stand up for him like this, that really can be powerful. And so I really and he might try to appeal it, like people are entitled to their appeals. I don't think anything will be overturned. Welcome to anyone who got here late. Uh just in case my husband watches the stream, I'll leave, I'll leave, I'll leave Lisa's comment there. Um, and I really appreciate seeing people step up and serve. And Deobra didn't do like his prior attorney was a court appointed attorney. He had never done anything to lose his right to have counsel. Like Sarah Boone ended up with a phenomenal team after she like acted a fool and like she lost her right to have counsel, and Owens and all these other people came and showed up for her. She had this phenomenal team after she had like done all this ridiculousness. Deobra, now he attacked a judge. But I thought it was his attorney did not spend enough time with him to realize he was psychotic. Like, yes, he was sitting there quiet, but like that doesn't mean that somebody's okay. And that's where I wonder if his defense attorney was wondering, like, if he had had better I don't and I don't know the other counsel, like, public, defense attorneys, they have a lot on their plate. Some are phenomenal. Not everybody does the best job, but just to have somebody stand up for you like this, like, I just thought it was super awesome. He still got a very hefty sentence. Let me look up an article that kind of explained because I had trouble. I listened to the judge say all those words and I was like, "What? I don't I don't know." Yes, he was sentenced to at least 26 years in prison. And um yeah. And it was so it was rescheduled a few weeks ago because he was not transported from prison to the court. Because sometimes they think the person is in jail, but he had already been transferred to prison for the 2023 crime. So let me go ahead and share this tab. So this is the judge. We are not going to watch her testimony. I just wanted she showed a strength and a resilience that was just remarkable. And she talked about, I think it was her grandchildren. She talked about what went through her mind. She thought she was going to die that day. She was that's what she thought was going to happen. And from her testimony, it sounded like she dissociated. Um and that's sometimes a stress response, a trauma response. Our brains try to protect us, and so we just kind of disconnect from the experience. She thought that was it, and I'm so glad that, all those people stood up for her. Um, yes. So Deobra is 31. Um, yeah, like her going through all of that, like it was very, very powerful testimony if you like want to cry. You don't have to make yourself cry. You can just trust me when I say it was powerful. Her law clerk, I think they will have a special connection too, because he did not hesitate for a moment. Like he jumped in and he's not trained to do any of that. Like that's not a part of his training. And so this was a really heavy case. I am glad that we were able to take a look at it. Y'all had a lot of the same thoughts I had. I felt parts of his parts of the defendant's statement came off like but I don't think he meant it to be aggressive, but it came off aggressive to me. It just did. But I think he meant it to be passionate, but it came off a different way. Mental health is tough. I have other videos, and I think in this video I might have resources for severe mental illness. Sometimes, especially within African American communities, the idea of medication can sometimes be like, "Oh, just pray about it." And I think that's what his foster mom. And there's nothing wrong with faith, but like if somebody was born substance addicted and they're having all of these issues, we need to get them to a psychiatrist. We need to have an adoption competent therapist. If we know these mental health things run in the family, often undiagnosed, often undiagnosed. And I do wish that he had got help and support much younger because I think he ended up connected with the system relatively young. And in Nevada, they have the mental health court, and they tried. I think they identified him as somebody that needed mental health help, and he went through the program, but good gosh, that was just tough. And if for any reason somebody can't get their medications filled, sometimes your doctor can help work, or sometimes you might know. I've heard for one medication, Vyvanse extended release is extremely difficult to find in Virginia right now. And so somebody I know recommended going to Costco, which is like you have to pay to have a membership at Costco. Or locally, we have a grocery store called Wegmans. And for the pharmacies, if you call and ask if they have certain medications available, but he didn't even have a prescription. And so he would have needed a psychiatric nurse or a psychiatrist to write the script for the medication that he needed. And so um very, very difficult case. Thank y'all for watching. Once again, the hair is straight only for this week. It'll be back to curly next week. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Gonna go feed the kiddo.